Now, a painting by the Austrian artist Gustav Klimt that was believed lost for the past 100 years is now being auctioned in Vienna. Klimt began the portrait of Fräulein Lisa in 1917, but he died the next year, and thus the painting is unfinished. It's valued at an estimated 50 million euros, although it could fetch an even higher price at auction today. Now, that story, we thought, gives us a good opportunity on France 24 today to talk about how artificial intelligence can be used to complete works that are lost or unfinished, not just by painters like Klimt, but even by composers as well, like Beethoven. To tell us a bit more, Julia Seeger is with me here in the studio. And Julia, there are many other unfinished works, aren't there, by Klimt? The faculty paintings is one, and engineers are trying to reconstruct them now using AI.
That's right. It's a collaboration, the work of a collaboration between Google Arts and Culture and the Belvedere Museum in Vienna, and they tried to digitally recreate the cursed paintings of Gustav Klimt, the faculty painting, as you said. So as a reminder, in 1894, the Austrian Ministry of Education commissioned Klimt to create 3 monumental paintings to decorate the University of Vienna, and they had to represent the faculties of law, medicine, and philosophy, and portray the Enlightenment in Europe. But of course, Klimt put his personal touch, and to medicine he associated suffering and death, and to justice he associated punishment. So they were seen as way too controversial. They were never put up, and they were stored in a castle in Immendorf that was set on fire by the Nazis in 1945, right before the Red Army came. And so the only thing that we had about these paintings was a black and white photography. And so what the Belvedere Museum and Google Arts tried to do is to try to use AI to reconstruct the color palette of those paintings. So we asked Emil Wallner, he's an independent AI researcher at Google Arts, how he did it. Let's take a listen.
The first part is that Franz Moulin, so he's a Klimt expert at the Belvedere Museum. He's been reading all of the critique and the articles about these paintings when they're still alive, or when the painting existed. And then he looked at how these were described and matched them with the existing paintings that Klimt had at the same time to understand what these color descriptions referred to. And then the second part is that I developed an AI model first trained on general artworks and then specifically on Klimt works to translate a black and white photo into a color photo. And the third part was then that we used the historical descriptions and the color references with the AI model to recreate recolorized versions of the paintings.
So Nadia, let's take a closer look at the difference between those of the black and white painting and now being colored by AI. You can see the triptych there, and AI that just came and what happened is that all of the colors, everything that they studied, how Klimt was painting at the end of his life, all of the description that they had, they fed it into what we call a neural network. This is a type of algorithm that can then propose a Korean palette, and then once again it's manually guided by humans to try to be as close as possible to the intention of the artist.
Quite extraordinary, both the original and the AI version there, Julia. And I understand the same kind of technique was actually used with Beethoven, with his 10th Symphony that was also unfinished.
Exactly. Right before his death in 1827, he scribbled a couple of notes on a partition, and many people thought that this was actually the beginning of his 10th Symphony. Now, we don't have any indication that that is actually the case, but several projects have tried to use AI to try to recreate what it could have sounded like, and they did exactly the same thing. They used deep learning, neural network. They fed it information about how Beethoven was composing at the end of his life. They also studied every single instrument, so the melody, the rhythm, the harmony, and they fed all of that information to the AI, who was then able to make a proposition once again. Let's take a listen. So you really need perfect pitch to see the difference, but it's quite mind-boggling, isn't it?
It's really impressive. And a last example you wanted to tell us about is the next Rembrandt, which is a true-to-life fake Rembrandt.
Exactly. It was created from scratch. It was created back in 2016. And I want to show you this because this is what AI was already capable of doing back in 2016. So it created this painting, and they went so far as to 3D print it to be able to really imitate the texture, the way the layer of paints were applied Rembrandt style. So and as you're going to see the actual painting. It's once again very mind-boggling. So there's a debate whether AI can indeed imitate human talent, but beyond that, those projects can teach us a lot about the style of the artist. You can see the painting there, quite impressive, but it tells us a lot about the style of the artist. It tells us a lot also about the human creative process and even about how the way the brain works.
Fascinating, as always. Thank you very much, Julia Seeger, our science editor, for us there on the programme.